Good morning and welcome back to the farm. So this morning I'm getting ready to go to Tractor Supply. So I've got to get some feed today, but I have to go and get some straw to do us temporarily because with all the rain, we got so much rain. The pond is overflowed. The ditches have overflowed. We're having a hard time running it off. The wind is helping some out there right now, but the barn where it just run down the hill is just kind of a muddy mess. The whole pasture is a muddy mess, really. But there are some areas in the pasture that the animals have been able to stand on and graze and do their normal daily activity. But I'm just really concerned with the barn. So what the plan is right now is I'm going to go get a few bales of straw, put the straw down and give a base to harden the ground under there. And then Tony is ordering in 2 dump truck loads of sand, and we are going to sand and build up the area of the barn. That way the floor of the barn is up and we can easily scoop off the poo-poo, and hopefully it'll be a lot more comfortable for the animals in the case of major rain like we've had in the last couple of days. So come on and let's go to Tractor Supply and get a few things. Let's get it unloaded and loaded onto the front. Okay, so you can see that I have put down straw, okay, because the barn floor is wet. It's very wet, it's very thick with muck. And I put down straw. The straw hopefully will, and what I'm thinking will happen is the straw will compact when it's wet into the mud and make kind of, you know, they used to make bricks out of straw and mud. So what I'm trying to do is make a very hard surface where it rains so much. So what I want to do now is this week, hubby has ordered in 2 dump truck loads full of sand. So hopefully we're going to build up the inside of the barn and around the barn and kind of block off some of the water that runs off of the hill. We need it to go more into the pond, which the pond did overflow. Over there where I had the big bale of hay, of course it is a lot higher, and Nellie is about to rip open a bag of feed. Nellie. So let me unload the feed real quick and then we'll get that put away, and I'll have to go and work on their water container because I had to drain the water container when the big freeze hit, and I need to refill it so that watering the animals will be just a little bit easier, because right now I've got just a long hose come from the house to the barn area to water them. Of course, it looks like they've got plenty of water right now if you look at the ground. But Nellie has been a trooper out here while I've been spreading straw out. She's eaten some of it, but she got spooked a little bit earlier when I cut the bale and it popped a little bit. But she's kind of trying to weasel her way closer and closer to me. She's wanting me to put her in her stall and give her a little bit of grain, but she's already had grain for today. She just needs a little fiber and straw now and hay, so she can go and eat from the hay. Okay guys, just an update here. I had to go in and get my microphone because the wind started blowing so hard out here. I was just hoping you'd be able to hear me. So, you know, in the past videos, I showed you that we moved the chicken yard and chicken run to the back of the barn. So out here, there were some of the materials that we wanted to keep and use for another project. So we haven't, because the weather just hasn't cooperated, we haven't dismantled everything yet. So we have gotten off the top portion, the metal off of the roof. So now we've got to get these boards down, and we are going to reuse them because I went to the class at Petals from the Past where Tracy at Just Dig It Farms taught about building potager gardens. Now, I don't know if I'll have a true potager garden, and it may take me years, but I plan to reuse the materials. So those will be going into, since they are not treated, they are going to be going into some of the beds for some medicinal herbs, and I will probably be taking out some of these trees. I don't really need all those trees in the garden. I may keep one or two around the edge, but for the most part, the shade in the evening will come from the trees that are surrounding in this area. So the garden will start, in my vision, the garden will start at the end of the brooder house here. All this will be gone and cleaned up. So that's my project for this next week, is to get it completely cleaned up out here and ready to turn into the garden area and get measured off. You know that the ground already has a bunch of chicken manure that has just kind of worked its way into the soil, so it should be pretty good. So all of this, where we've burned some of the structures that were here, I'll get it all cleaned up and get to the dump, get this down and get those materials ready to reuse and outline the garden area. So if you come around here, the lazy garden is here with the apple trees and the fig trees and all those trees. And I know I'm pointing with my dirty hand, but you know I just left the barn. So the garden will, I'm hoping to incorporate the lazy garden and just come on this way with it all the way to the end of the brooder house. Now, also what you haven't seen is I've cleaned off in my spare time. I have cleaned off behind where the chicken yard was. Okay, so here is the CRP line. All of that will be burned back, but all of this is opened up. So this was the old chicken house. All this land back here has been opened up. So you can see that the trees are lined up. So I'm going to incorporate something in this area. Now, I may have some trellises that have some jasmine on them. I may have some wisteria, which you know is very invasive, so we'll have to keep a watch on that and keep it trimmed. But I am thinking that I may consult with Tracy at Just Dig It Farms and just see what she thinks a good layout would be. But I will draw it up and then I'll just kind of get, pick her brain and get her thoughts on it. But like I said, this has got to be, this mess here is where we burned one structure, one house. And then of course we've got this one here where we burned another house. But we will reuse, that'll be a grow out pen. I've got to get that out of there. I wanted to save that and put it back on some legs. But we will get this down this next week, weather permitting, and I think that it will. I think it's going to dry out a little bit. But I want to get that down and get it stacked up to reuse. Now I do have leftover materials here. I do have these T-posts that are left over, and they will make a good layout of the garden. So they will make a good layout of the garden, and I can get those up and decide what kind of walls and borders I will have. Am I going to plant some trees, some evergreens like some arborvitaes, or will I do walls of cattle panels with some jasmine on them, trellises with jasmine on them? I love jasmine. It smells so delicious. But regardless, we will be firing up the sawmill, getting ready for beds and borders. Long story short, this next week, we're cleaning this up, getting this structure down, moving the grow out pen, and getting the ground kind of tilled in just a little bit to get it kind of leveled up, and get ready to stake some corner posts, lay it out, measure it, draw it up, and get an idea in my head. So wish me luck, because, hey, I knew that I wanted to do something over here in this area, and I know that I'm going to have a bigger area over here somewhere to grow some corn, because it's easier access to water in case of drought like last year. But in this area somewhere there will be some strips of corn, because I've already ordered it from Hoss. So yeah, that's the plan for this area right here, just to make it beautiful out here. So like I said, I've never done this thing before. I dreamed of something right here, right outside the house, that we could look at and visit and have some relaxation time and just enjoy the beauty of it. We're also going to be doing another project very soon in the backyard. So it will kind of coordinate and coincide with the lazy garden and the potager garden, to kind of give it the effect of it's all one space. Yeah, more to come. But as for now, farm on.